Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashkati Desatara. So originally today it was supposed to be Locham Prabhu sitting here lecturing from Sri Upanishad, which would be very nice. Unfortunately, he cannot come. Because we are going to hear from Sri Upanishad. I will actually continue with the shloka which he selected. This is from the ninth shloka of Sri Upanishad, mantra 9, which is very, very accurate. He would be actually far more qualified to speak about this as me, because it's addressing the culture of so-called knowledge. As you know, knowledge is something people strive for. Everybody wants to have some knowledge. Most of the knowledge in the material world is centered around 4 issues: how to eat, how to sleep, how to have sex life, and how to do all this in a protected environment. That's all. People think, oh, this is oversimplified. No. I am a man of knowledge. I'm much more intricate, much more complicated. That's because people don't know what these 4 points all include. Like sex life. It's not just about that kind of sex life. The desire for prestige, distinction, recognition, that's classified in the scriptures also as sex life. You know, so this is all much more bigger issues. And because there is no real issues about spiritual life, anything else, material, is centered around these four issues. And all knowledge, there is knowledge. And all progress, what they call, is centered around these four things. So Prabhupada make it very simple. He said that animals do also, but in a much more simple fashion. They don't go to university. They don't have to study for that. No. They just do, they do it in a very natural way, and they are quite good at it. Actually, better like we. You take human form of life, eating, how much we can eat. Even people, we used to have in Govindas in Stockholm a rule. You can eat as much as you want. One price, you can eat as much as you want. When we started with that, everybody told me, you are crazy, you will go bankrupt. No, they didn't. Rather, more people came because they were thinking, oh, I will eat a lot here. For this price, there's no other place in Stockholm I can eat so much. Some people even were fasting before they came to us. No. 1 plate, 2 plates, they were already finished. They couldn't simply. Prabhupada actually, this is coming from Srila Prabhupada, he said, if you have a restaurant, as much they want, they can eat. But Prabhupada said, no samosa in the pocket. That means no containers. You cannot just empty out everything and bring it home. Because who knows what you will do with it? Maybe you will do some business with it or something. Who knows? No. Whatever you can sit down and eat, you can do. We had really good people. They were very good in eating, but still, it's limited. I mean, sex life, I'm joking. There are animals out there who are much better. Any pigeon on a roof can have much more sex life as any human being. People always talk about this. They're excited about it, but nah. In our lifetime, I mean, how much sex life you would spend with, how much time you spend with sex? Not much. Eating? Yeah. Sleeping? Very much. Why not? Here in Denmark, on the opposite side, I met the professional people in sleeping. They can sleep 2-3 days. Danish people can do that. I was amazed. Still, you have to wake up. Sex life? We don't want to go in detail. Very temporary pleasure, with lots of very not so pleasant results. But eating, limited. Sleeping, you have to wake up. Sooner or later, you have to wake up. But there's a bear, he sleeps half of the whole winter through. Why not? We cannot do that. And defending? Why do we want to defend ourselves with this material body? Even the strongest man will go, I know, I can beat you out. I am the expert karate man. So what? The other man pulls the gun out and goes, that's it, finished. You are done with your karate. You are finished. And then somebody says, I have lots of guns. Nobody can defeat me. Well, he has a machine gun. Yeah, I have many machine guns. No, he has an atomic bomb. So what is a defense? What can we really defend, really? But animals, one cobra, one snake can just raise the head. And everybody takes distance. Just one snake, everybody goes away. Because dangerous is deadly. I can go like this the whole day around, nobody will get afraid. The human body is not made for these things. It's meant for acquiring knowledge. But what kind of knowledge? Well, we can hear from Sri Ishopanishad. This is Mantra 9. By the way, this book was one of the first books Prabhupada published. A very essential, very, very basic book. Many devotees I know came by reading this book because it's called Discovering the Original Person. That's the subtitle. it's establishing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a most clear and scientific way. So, in a mantra 9, it is stated, Andam tama pravishanti yevidyam upashate tatobhuya ivate tama yayu vidyayam rattaha. Those who engage in the culture of nascent activities, ignorant activities, shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. And Prabhupada explained, this mantra offers a comparative study of vidya and avidya. Avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Shija Upanishad is even more applicable today as at any other time. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that the people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. So this is just the introduction. I think we are sitting now in a country which is the best example I would know to use. Country where Nobel Prize is rewarded. One of the first recipients of Nobel Prize, certain Mr. Bernard Shaw from Ireland, quite very unusual person. He lived in a Victorian time, before Prabhupada even. A very special man. There are people like this who are, due to their past pious activities, they are gifted. So he was the first one who was rewarded Nobel Prize for Literature. He became very famous. So he came to Sweden, and he in Sweden, the king is giving reward for all the knowledge you disseminated. As if Sweden would be the center of knowledge. Really? I would doubt that. When you look in the history of Sweden, it's not known for disseminating much of their knowledge. Even I have to say the Viking culture was pretty cultured in comparison to today's culture. Still, Prabhupada said they were savages. It was a country of savages. And then there was a simple farming folks living in a forest, fishing, cutting trees, surviving. And that used to be Sweden. There was a Sweden royalty. Oh. I lived for many years in Stockholm, close to Drottningholm, where the king lives. Now I come from a country where every village has a castle. At least a castle, if not a fortress. It's called Czech Republic, previously Czechoslovakia. That was the center of the royalty for hundreds of years. Just castles everywhere. Something like Drottningholm, which is a little replica of Versailles Castle in France, because there was a French connection to the Swedish royalty. So they try to look also French. It's a small building, there's nothing, small park to it, that's it. And they built a theater there, because, cultured people have to go to theater. You know what it was made from? Paper. The whole theater was from paper. It's still standing there, but the second version, because the first version burned down, of course, it was from paper, illuminated by candlelights. But it's beautiful, little building. But I was there, by the way, and I know, but they try also to be French theater. Yes. Molière, yes. I was still Sweden, full of these people who were just, living on the land, and digging through the snow, helping each other. It was very, very, actually, very simple and all these kind of cultures, the village cultures in all countries are very similar because they were living in a very similar environment. You know, animals, farming, surviving the day. So you don't need much academic knowledge for that. You learn by practicing. You learn from your parents, you learn from relatives, and that was usually the education most of the people received. You know, not for many, many years, people didn't even know how to read or write. There was no need for that. You know, counting that you can do simple, you know. And then well, they just learned what is needed to be learned. That's all. Today, as Prabhupada points out, we learn all these things which we don't need to learn. I mean, when I remember my school time, I could forget the whole school time just like that. An entirely wasted time. In the best time of my life, I could be just, I was inquiring, I was inquisitive, but for what? To know the chemical formula of water. Why do I have to know that when there is no water or the water is polluted? You know, that's a result of, you know, I don't know. We used to have actually in ISKCON a theater play about that. A beautiful play which Prabhupada approved, and it was very relished by him. Prabhupada liked when the Buddhists played theater, you know. It was played always on festivals and this. It was called The Professor play. And it's actually an imitation. Prabhupada was, you know, quite anti-English, you know, when he was in India. So this play depicts an English professor, man of knowledge, coming to India. Now, until today, it is widely believed by the English folks that Indians are a little bit primitive. Yeah, this is this living in these villages. And what is this? We are the British people, very knowledgeable. Come back to Mr. Bernard Shaw. He was from Ireland. Oh, he also didn't like English. Irish people, English people, it doesn't work. So when he came to Stockholm and they gave him the Nobel Prize, the king, for literature, he said, I could forgive Mr. Nobel for inventing dynamite, because that's actually the only thing Mr. Nobel did. And Mr. Nobel was himself traumatized how instantly the military took advantage of the dynamite. He wanted to just blow up some rocks and some roads and some tunnels, but they immediately thought, we can blow up people too, you know? So dynamite became a devastating item, especially First World War, where it was demonstrated, killing so many. So Mr. Nobel was so traumatized that actually he invented the Nobel Peace Prize. Donated all his money for that, you know. His brother blew up with dynamite. He was exploring on a boat in Stockholm, you know, and then the whole boat went up. So, whatever. So Mr. Bernard should say, I could forgive Mr. Nobel for inventing the Nobel Prize, and actually for inventing dynamite. But whoever made a prize out of this, he must be devil in person. He said it in his speech to all the king and all the intellectuals, and they were like, you know, he really didn't care. So these are demoniac Ugra karma inventions as a result of a heightened knowledge. So what kind of knowledge is this? When you look at the scientific development and all the inventions they did in the history of science, it's purely destructive. They say, what about the medicine? Prabhupada said, really? Did you stop the disease? Huh? That will be the real medicine. No disease. No! The disease goes on in another form, maybe, and you created even more disease. Sometimes when you buy medicine, you know, then there's a by effects warning. You know, this medicine is good for headache, but it damages your liver. It damages this, it damages that. No pregnant women should take it. You say, what kind of medicine is this? The list of damages is bigger, like the stupid headache. So this is science. That kind of knowledge is Ishopanishad is warning us. And what is the result of the knowledge? It's good. We want to know. It's good. But for what purpose? What is the meaning of knowledge? The first thing Prabhupada challenged, he said, the first thing good to know is, who are you? A very basic question. Who is me? Most people will say, what a stupid question. I'm Swedish. Really? That can be changed. And then when is you? You perished, right? You change, especially today, in the days of massive immigration, passport is just possible, it can be changed. I shouldn't be too autobiographic, but I have right now with me 3 passports, 2 different ID cards, completely different names, you know that? So when the police sometimes check me, I just showed all this and go, you can have a choice. Czech police, they very rarely, but they do that with some routine check. And they go, this is too complicated, just keep on driving. It's just, Swedish, they ask me, where did you get all this from? Is it real? And I said, yeah, it's real. I just lived in different countries and, it just happened. I didn't die yet. That's what happened, actually, really. And then I got this passport here and passport there. What does it mean? Nothing. When I die, it's going to be just a bunch of plastic and that's it, with some photo on it. And the photos are not even accurate sometimes. When I open my passport, I go, who is this? Horrible, I look more and more like my grandmother, I really don't like that. But what can I do about it? Fortunately, we are not this body. What a good news. We are not this passport. We are not Swedish. We are not even man. We are not even a woman. That's a good news. That's a real knowledge. That kind of knowledge to cultivate is interesting. It sounds like a simple information. Okay, we are not this body. Yeah. And we can change our nationality. Yeah, we know that. But what does it all mean? The consequences of that, that's real knowledge. Real knowledge constitutes 2 elements. You understand things in their origin. Where do they come from? And in the effect, what does it do? People don't ask these questions. They go to school and, like, I'm coming from a generation of very anarchistic people. Somehow in the 60s, in the previous century, people used to ask many questions, actually. Young people, not the old people, young people. Like when they taught me in a school, water formula for water is H2O. Immediately, when my friend raised the hand, he said, why? Who invented that? Well, this is hydrogen, this is oxygen, and there's some 2 in between. And my friend said, yeah, still it doesn't explain who invented this formula. The teacher didn't know. They're just teaching. You know why girls are always so good in a school? Because they are like parrots. Very good repeated. No idea what this is about, doesn't matter. But that's it. Well, that's not knowledge. We can do the same thing with the scriptures. There are people who have the ability to read and remember, so they can learn shlokas. I know devotees who know the whole Ishopanishad just reciting the shlokas, just like that. Great. It still leaves the question, what are we actually reading? Did we really understand that? That's a challenge. Do I really understand what I'm reading here? People go, of course I understand. I got the information. Well, that's called jnana, knowledge. Yes, it is a knowledge. But then comes vijnana, and that's called realized knowledge. Like example, I can study cookbooks. I can do that. I can read cookbooks, recipes, learn recipes. I can learn that. I never cooked one thing in my life, you know that. You put me in a kitchen, it's a disaster. I can burn even a tea, you know. Why? Because I have no practice. I managed all these 3 restaurants, but anyway, that's another story. I didn't have to cook. I had the best cooks always. I was just watching cooks and serving them. That's all. What can I do, Prabhu, for you? That's all. You can manage a restaurant like this too, you know that. You don't have to cook. Prabhupada said about knowledge. He used the example of microphone. He said, I don't know how this microphone works. I didn't invent it, but I use it. That's knowledge. I just use it. Let the other people struggle with inventing this. It's practical for Krishna consciousness. I use it. That's called vijnana, practically applied knowledge. We should never forget Krishna consciousness is about this. Because by the time when we are dying, which is the most essential moment, if we are remembering Krishna or not, then it is a question what we really know, not what we believe to know. Like Prabhupada said, you can teach parrot. I remember in Australia, I never was there, but devotees told me, devotees in Australia had in front of the entrance of the temple, they had a big parrot, you know, this ara, you know, the big ones. And he was very happy, so many people coming, nice. He was greeting everybody, Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. He was very good at this. And people always were like, wow, a Krishna conscious parrot. Prabhupada said, yeah. If you grab him on his throat, what will he do? That's it. He will not chant because he has no idea what he's doing. Sometimes children are a little bit like that. They are just, you know, imitating, which is good. They imitate and they copy, but they have no idea what they are doing, really. But Prabhupada liked that. He liked, there was one little girl, Saraswati. She was preaching. Prabhupada liked that. In front of him, they had a very special connection, these two. And Prabhupada always sent this little Saraswati to preach. And Saraswati came over to the people and he said, you are not this body, you are in Maya. When a little child tells you this, people are like... And Prabhupada used it even an example. He said, look, she's dancing happy in a kirtan. That's perfect bhakti yoga. That's knowledge. But of course, then comes a time you start to ask yourself, what am I actually doing here? If every devotee who joined this movement, this time is coming. It's time of awakening. The beginning, we feel emotionally attracted. And we sense this is good. This is good. So we start to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I remember why I started to chant Hare Krishna. Not because of love of Godhead, but because I felt when I chant, I don't have to think. So nice. Because my thinking was starting to scare me. You know, I'm coming from a generation of very innovative, very artistic speculators. And I grew up with people like that. You cannot imagine what kind of ideas these people got. Musicians, artists, very well-known figures, but completely crazy. I mean, what ideas they got. Basically, artist means crazy, sorry. That means somebody extraordinary, you know? Yeah? Like, every time I come here, I use this portrait of Srimati Emma there. It's very well painted by somebody who knows about painting, who knows about color composition, you know. he sees in a different way as we do. Normal person would not paint like this. You would try to make it as real as possible, like a photo. No, no, no. This was an artist. He wanted to express something more in Emma, something deeper. So why did he put grayish tones into her face? Why did he make a dark blue corner on that painting in the back? Why did he put colors? He could paint with other colors. It could be more bluish. It could be more grayish. It could be more greenish. No, it is what he saw. In his perception of color, but he thought this will fit to that person. As an artist, So what is the reality? What is real and what is false? This is actually the object of knowledge. Because a knowledgeable person will know that he doesn't know. There was one Greek, Aristotle, I think, who was that, Aristotle? He said, I know that I don't know. Prabhupada said, he was the only one from that whole club who got some realization. I know that I don't know. Good, very good knowledge. That's a start, what we call a bhakta program. Because as soon you think, I know, you will not come to Krishna consciousness. No, 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 no. Krishna consciousness is for people who know that they don't know. And then you can investigate and you can ask questions. This movement is for people who like to ask questions. And we have lots of answers. So this is actually what Ishopanishad is about. It's delivering the real knowledge, and it's warning us, be careful about people who look like they have knowledge, but they don't. Prabhupada gave a very drastic example. He said, very educated people with a great intellectual credit, they are like snakes with a jewel on the head. So you are attracted by the jewel. You think, oh, this is a nice jewel. Yeah, but there is a snake, and it will bite you. And we saw, unfortunately, examples of people trying to use even spiritual knowledge for that purpose. That's the biggest offense you can do. Because actually they are very poor-minded. They couldn't speculate something on their own. They couldn't write another Ishopanishad. No, 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 no. So they take the scripture, they take the knowledge, but misinterpret it in a way they put themselves in the center. That's basically, Prabhupada said, this is centered around the envy on God. God said, therefore I also have to say, God, well, that's called cheating, hypocrite. Prabhupada said, if you want to invent your own philosophy, your own knowledge, do that. Krishna gave you freedom, do that. But do it, it's going to be your own book, your own knowledge. Don't take Krishna's words and don't imitate them. This is the biggest offense you can do. It's called copyright. Copyright is something as a law. You cannot just take anything from any book and just say, okay, this is now my book. No, 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 no. The author has a right to claim right for his words, for his literary product. So Krishna is the ultimate copyright holder. And we cannot just take something from him and claim it to be ours. That's one symptom how you realize the cheater. He is just talking. And he's acting completely differently. And another thing, how you realize you are talking to a cheater, he's actually very miserable. Very serious. It's called speculator. You never saw a happy speculator, actually. No. I was an artist. Always struck me when you look in the history of art, how it degraded from originally artist means illustrator. Just a documentation, decorator. decorating temples, usually. Even the first art you find in European countries is illustrating Bible. It's illustrating religious scripture. That was considered art. Yeah, but then the rulers, the Kshatriya type people, they thought, no, I am the important person here. So the next illustration you find is the rulers, starting with a sword, the guy, Gustav Vasa, big belly, big sword, come, we will beat you up. And he was actually not so bad, Gustav Vasa was quite an amazing figure. But anyway, so, yeah, then God, scripture was like going more in a background. It was the king, it was the ruler. And then it ended up in French type. Oh, you go in a French gallery, it's full of these pictures of, the La Comte, with his family, the children, the dynasty. And always a little dog. There's always dogs running around, little dogs. And because there was no photography, so you had to be portrayed, very important, very important. And then the art degraded more into people, the people, naked people. That's really nice, And then it degraded even more into called abstract art. No more people, nothing, just some, That's art. That's art. People go, what is it? It's art. And you know why it's important art? Because it's very expensive. He remembers me on one of my art gurus. His name was Beuys in Germany. He put a chair and he put a big pile of fat on it. That was art. The chair was exhibited in a gallery at a value like 500,000 Deutschmark those days. Big money. The next morning, they came into the gallery and they were shocked. The chair was gone. Who stole the chair? Such an expensive art. Gone. But they found it outside of the gallery in a container. And they're going, how could somebody throw such a valuable art piece into the container? It was the cleaning lady. She said, blah, what a garbage here. So she just threw it in a container. This is the art of today. But I'm not going to give lecture about art, but it just illustrates how things degrade. What is considered today art is just basically music. In any part you'd pick up, just entertainment, cheap entertainment. Wow, somebody makes something. Wow. Computer, that was a real thing. It was originally meant for disseminating information. Because in a computer you can pack maximum information in minimum space and transmit it, which is, was not possible before. So that was actually how computers started. No, it's art. Artificial intelligence. You can make any crazy thing you can imagine. Just type it in, program the whole thing. Comes a woman with a head, of a rhinoceros or something like that. Whatever. The computer will do this for you. People saying, wow, that's interesting. That's quite unusual. It's even more crazy as I saw it. So it's a competition of craziness, which is finally also defined as knowledge. Already in Prabhupada days, Prabhupada used to go, in America, universities are different, like in the West. It's like villages. It's actually a campus. Campus means actually you really camp there. It got parks, it got, you can eat there, you can learn there, and it got even, I think, places you can live. It was just a collection place. One morning Prabhupada walks through such a campus, and he said, this is very nice, devotees should preach here. And then he saw a big tower there, like you go up and you have some view, but it was closed, locked. And Prabhupada said, why do they lock that? And he said, well, Prabhupada, I used to go to this university. The tower was finally locked because students went always all the way up and jumped down, committed suicide. Prabhupada said, well, this is you teaching. So much learning, so much studying, and at the end, suicide. That's all. I mean, just the philosophical department, yeah. Actually, Jayesh Prabhu is coming around. He was just recently studying in a University of Uppsala. And he gave me a beautiful summary study of the Indology Sanskrit department, University of Uppsala. It's training people to completely destroy Vedic culture by learning Sanskrit, by learning this. Their addition and their interpretation of Sanskrit is so demoniac, you cannot imagine. Completely atheistic. So I'm very happy when I got the news. He quit and he's doing something else now. Very good realization. He's rather learning some, by the way, I don't want to make too much advertisement for him. It's a wonderful devotee, but he's learning in India how to do original Vedic sacrifices, Vedic from original scriptures. Prabhupada ultimately summarized the whole thing. He said the ultimate sacrifice in Kali Yuga is the chanting of the holy name. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalana asti, kalana nasti eva gatir ganyata. So that means 3 times. Kalana asti means there is no other way. There is no other way, and there is no other way. As the chanting of the holy name. This is because this age is so fallen. So Prabhupada writes it very, very nicely in the purport. Never before was this shloka so important like today. Because it's exposing and warning us, don't listen from people who sound very smart. More ask, what are they doing actually? How are they living? How do they maintain their bodies? Very mundane question, but it's very important. Because you can have a crook, cheater, liar, and very immoral person speaking very nicely. Lord Chaitanya says to Haridas Thakur, our Nam Acharya of the chanting of the holy name, he tells to him, some people speak very nicely, but they don't act very nicely. And some people, they don't know really how to speak so nicely, but they act very nicely. But you can do both. You can speak very nicely and act very nicely. This is called Acharya, the one who is actually teaching by example. So this is our examples. This is our idols. That's what we worship actually, people like that who exhibited by their action what they know, what they realized. And above all, we have Srila Prabhupada, who showed us practically, how to live in Krishna consciousness in a very practical way, who taught Krishna consciousness in a most applicable and practical way. So, and he was very, very militant, very heavy, using very heavy words by exposing cheaters who come in the name of knowledge and actually are deviating. So Prabhupada, there's a whole purport to it. We can always encourage people to read Ishopanishad. There is exactly defined in this one shloka what is vidya, knowledge. This is by understanding who really God is and about facts of life, Prabhupada called it. Let me just mention a few, like starting with the question, who is me, and then comes, where do I come from? That's another interesting question also. People go, well, I come from Malmö, what's the problem? No. Where do you come from? Why are you were born? Science is always analyzing what's happening. They're pretty good at it sometimes. Scientists counted how many species of life exist. It comes very close to the Vedic version, the number. 8,400,000. It comes very close to that. They know by by observation, they can see things. But again, they can never explain why. And where do these things come from? Now, that's the real knowledge. That's really interesting to a devotee. As one Chinese proverb even says, the real intelligence is to understand things in their origin. Where do they come from? Because if you don't understand that, you'll be confused. Why is it happening now? You know, like children playing with matches. They don't know fire comes from matches. They go, maybe, but I didn't try it. So they go, and then they go, ah, there's fire. Yeah, of course, because they have matches. There's examples for this in every field, social field. I really like that one. If you invite a clown to be a kingdom, to be a king, yeah, he doesn't become a king. The kingdom becomes circus. That's what happens. It's a good one. You know, so don't wonder if you invite a person who is a clown that he will make a whole place a circus. Naturally, the only thing he knows. Prabhupada gave an even more evident example. He said one day a king was very happy because the shoemaker made such a beautiful shoes for him. So he invited the shoemaker, and the shoemaker was like, wow, the king wants to speak to me. And he said, thank you for the shoes. It's so wonderful. I mean, beautiful shoes. What can I do for you? And the shoemaker said, well, I have one desire. Since you ask, I would like to be one day a king. The king smiled and he said, okay, why not? So they put the shoemaker on the throne. And he was like, oh, I'm a king. So a king has to say something important. So he has to issue a law, a new law. The new king, new law, he said. So from now on, all the money in the kingdom will be made from leather. Because leather was for him the most valuable thing he knew. That's where he made the shoes from. And everybody laughed. He was going, what an idiotic idea. Money from leather, what do you mean? So he was, well, this is my new law. And the king said, you know what? Get down from that throne. The money is not going to be made from leather. You know, Prabhupada said you can put a dog on a throne. But if you throw him a bone, he will immediately jump down and go for the bone. You know? And this is how you discover a cheater. Krishna has a perfect way how to throw the right bones to the right people. I remember, I'm coming from the 60s. You may not believe it, but there were many incarnations of God in the 60s, coming even to the West. I remember especially the one, he was really great, Guru Maharaji, you know, a little fat man. And he said, I'm Krishna. Yeah, I'm Krishna. And my, was a wife or sister, I'm not so sure. She's right around here. And she was more fat like him. Anyway, so, you know, it was a foul couple, and they were very successful. They were really giving lectures, collecting lots of money. So Guru Maharaji, and Prabhupada, he was known in India even, and Prabhupada said, in India, we hate this guy. In India, actually, he got a court case. He was prosecuted legally. But in the West, nobody cared, so he came to the West, and he was, Guru Maharaji, I'm God. Actually, we used to distribute books like this from to Guru Maharaji people. They were going, oh, my Guru is Krishna. We said, yeah, these books are about Krishna. Oh, that's very nice. I want to know about my Guru. You know? So, so finally, he had to collapse. I remember one lady, she felt so cheated by him. At his celebration, he was sitting on a big golden Vyasasan, and she brought a big cake, you know. And he was going, oh, this is nice. I'm God. This is a big cake for a big God. Very nice. And she took the cake and just slammed it into his face. And there was newspaper reporters just, of course, ready for that. And they immediately made a photo. God with a cake in a face, you know. And I remember that photo very well. It was all over the media. Prabhupada laughed. He said, yeah. He even said, if you are God, I will kill you. Try to stop it. By mantra, anything you can do. You are God. Come on. Try to stop me. I will kick you first. Try to stop me. Prabhupada used even, there was in the morning walks, in an intimate circle, he used examples like that. He said, God has to go to the dentist. Oh. One lecture, even Prabhupada said, he think he is God and he has to go to the dentist. Prabhupada made like this. God goes to the dentist. Great. So this stupidity was really going on very large scale. So, so people are so dull. They buy things like this. We should never buy in Krishna consciousness anything blindly. If you get something, follow blindly. Don't complain you got cheated. That's your problem. We have enough knowledge right away here in Ishopanishad to verify who is God and who is a true follower of God. This is all in detail described. Like the end of the purport here, Prabhupada, he actually ends. Therefore, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of Katha Upanishad. These Veda-Vada Rata people, however, have their own Acharya, who is not in a chain of transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest regions of ignorance by misinterpreting Vedic literature. They even fall further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. We saw it in practice. Even an honest atheist, it's much more easy to talk to. He goes, there is no God. They go, then why are you talking about God all the time when he is not existent? This is one basic question. Atheists are always very eager to prove there is no God. So why are you talking about him? He doesn't exist. Huh? That's already a little bit strange, isn't it? They are very eager. There is no God. In thousands of years, there is idiots coming up proving that there is no God. Why? If he is not existing, then don't bother. But they are very serious about this. Very serious. Actually, the whole Western knowledge is symbolized by sadness. I come back to the example when I studied art. I was going back in a history of art. And then when I realized, when it happened in a Renaissance time, Middle Ages, then later, the first picture of a man of knowledge. There was always man of knowledge, like king kept man of knowledge. There was actually in Prague one called Rudolf II. He was possessed by collecting foul people. He turned the whole kingdom into a circus. Foul astrologers, and they made, and he knew about collecting, bringing people in who were supposed to produce gold, out of urine or whatever. He had a whole laboratories for that. He was a crazy. He was a king. He had the abilities, and he had actually by the way, he was driven by the Swedes then out of the city. Then the Swedish came and just took over and just kicked him out and robbed everything. Most of the Czech royal paraphernalia you find in a museum in Stockholm. That's from the robbery they did there in the Middle Ages. So anyway, he was like, but he liked people with knowledge, but he got only cheaters coming in one after another, and they were all cheating him. Very good talking people. And there was another king before him, Charles IV. He was a very pious person. He wouldn't make one judgment without counsel of astrologer and people, because he knew we are all governed here by cosmic laws. Careful. We have to be careful. But he had one rule. If the astrologer was proven to be a speculator and cheater, they immediately cut off his head. So it was quite dangerous to make a horoscope for that guy, because you could really lose your head, because this was such a responsible thing. So knowledge actually is responsibility. We have to be very careful when we present something as a knowledge, that it's actually authorized. It's bona fide. And Prabhupada said it has to come from a bona fide succession. Otherwise, our opinion or speculation, it can be interesting. But I'm not saying it's not possible. Krishna cannot give any inspiration and knowledge to some person. But we have to verify it. We have to verify it. Like inspiration is there. We are entitled to have an ideas. I have an idea how to serve Krishna. Why not? Sure. But Prabhupada said it has to be authorized. It has to be confirmed. That's the reason we accept spiritual master, actually, because we want to be checked. We want to have a reference. Is it okay? Because our senses and our mind can cheat us wonderfully. Wonderfully. Basically, when we look back in our lives without Krishna consciousness, we got cheated all the time. I remember, I use the example of artists, cheating. Already in art school, I remember. And some students were already going on this. Yeah, of course. It's a joke. Let's make art as a joke. Let's make, out of the joke, let's make it art and sell it for good money. You know what you need for that? A good salesman, called a gallery. There's a gallery people who are not even artists themselves, but they sell for you and they become very famous. From that gallery is selling only first-class art. I was connected to such a place in Germany, and they organized the exhibition. Young artists are exhibiting. I was 14 years old. I had my first exhibition like that, along with other young people. And I remember my friend, he took his old tennis shoes, rotten old tennis shoes, and he nailed them on a piece of wood and sprayed them with silver color, the whole piece. And then he hung it on a wall. This is art. I told him, hey, this is really crazy. And he said, let's see what they say. He was a completely cynical guy. So we exhibited, me with my art and he with his rotten shoes, And these places were regularly invaded by a young, very rich people. Like young, freshly, we call them yuppies, the just new rich man people who got lots of money. And they were looking into such a places in a hope that they buy cheap some piece of art, which later on, when the artist becomes famous, becomes very good investment, very expensive. But it was a risk. They took the risk. They had money. So I remember my friend nailing such a guy. He was like with tie and he had this fancy car in front of the door. And he said, what does it mean? The exhibitions are always very special dates. You drink champagne and this. And then it's always the artist is present. So people come. Wow, you painted that. What does it mean? And my friend, he gave him a long lecture about these rotten shoes. He told him, well, these shoes are like the progress of mankind in another dimension we don't even understand. That's in the shoes. And he gave him a long, fascinating lecture. I was just listening to it, going, wow, I couldn't come up with such a thing. The man bought it, I remember, for 3,500 Deutschmarks. That rotten piece of wood with the rotten shoes, and took it home that maybe this is a good investment. This is what is defined here, cheetah. But this was about rotten shoes. What about if people take the knowledge from the scriptures and present it in a rotten way? That's much more dangerous. Rotten shoes is cheating from cheater to cheater. It's like equalized, okay. He is so stupid, he buys this, okay. It's your problem. But what about if you take Krishna's words, if you take Krishna's things, and you present it for the same purpose? You cannot imagine, if you study the scriptures, what the reactions you get when you use spiritual knowledge for material benefit. It's ghastly. Manu Samhita is a scripture which is like the law book. The reaction of such a person who profess like a famous, guru or whatever, but actually he is just gaining material benefits from that, the reactions are monstrous. Thousands of lifetimes as a rotten shackle, infested by fleas. Things like that. Thousands of lifetimes like this, born again and again and again. Heavy, it's a heavy thing to read. But we don't have to worry. You know what's the beautiful thing about the Western people? They don't know anything. They're just, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, why not? Yeah, it's good. They have nothing, they don't even come up with some funny thing. In India, it's much more dangerous. In India, they go, I know. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Durga Durga, Shiva Ram. I have a new mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Durga Durga, Shiva Ram. I'm nothing against Durga, nothing against Shiva, but this is not the Maha Mantra. Maha Mantra is clearly defined in the scriptures and clearly established by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada was very firm on that too. But Prabhupada said, in India, you don't find such a, most of the time, you don't find such a horrible deviations, completely concocted. It's just a little bit moved in another dimension, like that, a little bit moved. Yeah. Like Prabhupada was very much opposing about this Durga Kirtan, and and then there's a Shiva Kirtan, and Prabhupada said, no, there's only Krishna Kirtan. This is coming from the Vaishnava tradition. Otherwise, I cannot even comment more because I'm Western people. I'm one of these Western people. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about outside of Prabhupada's, what Prabhupada said. And I'm very happy about that. And this is actually one of the symptoms how you also realize that he's never happy. Going back to this Western tradition of intellectuality, did you ever saw this picture of the Western intellectuals? They are all really depressing people. What to speak? Actually, it was some years ago, somebody gave me a magazine. There was a summary article, portraits of the most intellectual and prominent people of the 20th century, summarized, with their lives to it, biographies. Now, you could really say, after reading just this really concentrated article, it's a bunch of psychopaths, all of it. But really bizarre people. From homosexuality up to pedophilia, everything involved. And this is what you teach in the schools? This is the thing people go to the school to learn from these people? Who developed atomic bomb. Great! All glories to Mr. Oppenheimer. He also quoted Bhagavad Gita when that thing blew up. That man knew. Hitler knew very well. They had a special department, the Nazis, to study Vedic literature. Going to India, researching. They know demons are, they know there is knowledge. But for what purpose? Just, again, to dominate the world. The same old game. Dominate the world, become God. So this is actually what we avoid in Krishna consciousness. We are not here, actually, to glorify ourselves. We are here to glorify Krishna and the pure devotee, and then, by the way, on the way, you also become glorified as a reflection of their glory. It can happen. And if it doesn't happen, the devotee doesn't care. So this is, we are not here to become something important. We already have something most important. They're already here. We are here to serve the important, not to become important. And by doing so, yeah, we become important. That's the trick. Automatically. I mean, I couldn't give you a description with what kind of people Prabhupada spread the Krishna consciousness all over the planet. Very special people. Very, very eccentric, individually, anarchistic, people. I don't want to go in detail, but the stories are very colorful. I don't sometimes even think such people aren't born anymore. When I look around, I think it's getting really boring, I grew up under authorities. This was when I was a young boy coming from Czechoslovakia. I didn't know anything. And it was, and I grew up under authorities. They still had certain habituation, which was, from today's point of view, it's like, wow. My first authority, a really very influential, very charismatic preacher. Prabhupada told him, simply by kirtan, you can take over the whole world. I saw with my own eyes how this godbrother of mine made kirtan, and immediately people joined this movement just by hearing his kirtan. He didn't even give a lecture. No, I don't remember actually any lecture from him. He was like, yeah, Prabhupada ki jai, that's it. But he was extremely charismatic person. His kirtans were 3-4 hours kirtan was normal. We couldn't stop dancing. I remember every day, next day, I couldn't walk. My feet were finished from all the dancing. You couldn't stop. So Prabhupada knew exactly. You simply preach by this. Unfortunately, he also had other habits sometimes. Like he liked weapons. Lots of weapons. When he became a guru, his first disciple gave him as a guru dakshin bazooka. That's you shoot the tanks with that, It was not accidental. I'm not going to go more in details. The history of ISKCON is sometimes very colorful, but these devotees were surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. They were ready to give up their lives for him. And that was the connection. Whatever happened thereafter, that's another story, but that is, you can actually learn from that. By the more we surrender unconditionally, the more Krishna will answer to our. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, as you surrender unto me, I will reveal myself to you. It's a connection there. So a little surrender, little revelation. Lots of surrender, lots of revelation. Complete surrender, complete revelation. So this is basically the guidelines in Krishna consciousness we do follow. So here in Ishopanishad, we can very clearly learn how to distinguish between so-called knowledge and a real knowledge. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge is performed joyfully. So where is the joy? It's a very relevant question. When somebody goes, you have to become more and more Krishna conscious. We are all going to die. You too. And we will receive the reaction for all our sinful activities. You can preach like that. At the end of the lecture, everybody thinks, why don't I die now? It's just like horrible. That was not Prabhupada's preaching. He said many heavy things. You smile on his face. He was so satisfied. Man with nothing. He started with nothing. Nothing. And he was so content, and Krishna is here, and and I'm his eternal servant, and people were just attracted to that. They were like, this man is a happy, penniless, homeless man. How is that possible? I remember even one mother from a German devotee, she got enthusiastic, devotees preached to her, so she went with devotees to India. She was not bright, spiritually enlightened person, but when she came back, I spoke to her and she told me, I just came back from India. I never saw so many happy poor people in one place. He said, I saw a man sitting on a road He has nothing, not even a dress. And here's some can sitting there. People can throw in some coin. No? He's happy. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't happen in the West. In the West, is everybody miserable. Why? Because you have to more, to get more. You get enough? No, we have to get more. And therefore everybody is so miserable. So it's a very simple thing. So real knowledge means there, you will see it. It's a happy, content person, satisfied. And it doesn't mean he will be having a really enjoyable life, materially spoken. No. There are examples of that. I saw devotees suffering, and they were still very, okay, very tolerant, very satisfied, and very happy. Yes. At least I'm burning down my karma. That was one comment one devotee gave me. Now I am using my bad karma. Good. One Mataji, she writes to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I'm falling down. I am losing Krishna consciousness. I'm always so sick. Prabhupada said, who? The answer, I can show you the letter. He writes, who told you you are falling down? You are making advancement because that pain ties you to Krishna even more. Naturally. But now I don't ask for pain. We are not masochistic. But still, it's coming anyway, naturally. But that makes us more serious, more mature, and more deeply interested in Krishna consciousness. Usually it's like that. Therefore, you don't see materially very advanced or happy people surrendering very much. No. They think, what do I need Krishna for? So this is what we can learn from Ishopanishad here, to avoid avidya, to avoid false and ignorance. What to speak of a false knowledge? It's even worse. Very interesting and very up-to-date sloka. Here's some questions or comments to this? Or?
I can share a small story.
Huh?
I can share a small story. So I was talking to one guy, and he is following Advaita philosophy.
Following what?
Advaita.
Advaita, yeah.
So he sent me some audio. It was a video on YouTube. You know what? It was generated by artificial intelligence, this video. But it was a lecture on his topic. But it was generated by artificial intelligence. So some people consume the quality of knowledge. It's even generated. When you take a fruit.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it was generated by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, but so far I am not a computer man. So far I understand artificial intelligence entirely depends on what you feed it.
Yeah, of course. It's still.
So Prabhupada would have a very easy comment on that. He said, well, it's just an extended tool for somebody's imperfect senses. Perfect sensual perception. Tendency to cheat, that's the standard equipment of the conditioned soul. So how can you expect a perfect product from such a thing? One devotee, just very recently, I am connected to computer experts. He's just out of fun. He told me, I programmed a little bit and I asked artificial intelligence, how should real ISKCON look like? And he showed me the text. It was quite a long text. It was perfect, absolutely perfect. It was wonderful. It was like straight out Prabhupada talking. But again, that was how he programmed the whole thing. He programmed intelligence even on Manidhara, artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence can tell you who is Manidhara. You can do that. But again, you have the programmer there, who is depending on the mercy of the chief programmer. So again, it's very simple. We go to the original programmer, to the original computer expert, and that's Krishna. So and then the electricity goes out and the whole artificial intelligence is finished. It's as simple as that. You know how fragile and temporary this media are. People cannot picture that one day we will not have these little boxes in the hand. They live with it. They breathe with it. You can cut off somebody's finger, but don't take his iPhone. So, you know, and one day this is going to be just a memory. It can be. There's no stability. There's no future in these things. Prabhupada said that himself. So, but of course, today to say such a thing, you know, people think, well, he's crazy. I mean, we are using these things all the time. So, but sometimes I think the world without internet would be. I grew up in a world without internet. Okay, I know how that world looks like. You think something was missing? Don't know. It was just less agitation. That's all. Because that's what you get. More agitation. And people think, yeah, but people didn't know so many things. Knowing about what? Again, what is knowledge? They ask me about ISKCON. You heard from Mayapur? And I said, yeah, I heard something from Mayapur. That wasn't nice. And I said, no, it wasn't nice. So what shall we do about it? I said, what will you do about it? Are you in Mayapur? No. You're sitting in your place. Why don't you take care of that? That was Prabhupada's logic. You know what Prabhupada said? Genius. He said, what's the use of so much talking, simply creating enemies? And it's a fact. The more you blah, 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 the more trouble comes up. Why not just study Ishopanishad, just chant Hare Krishna, just do what you are doing according to your abilities. We have enough to do the whole day. And of course, ISKCON, what is ISKCON? Yeah, it's a good question. I support everybody who asks, what is real ISKCON? I can tell you what ISKCON is from Prabhupada's ground. He gave exactly purpose and meaning of this movement. What is this meant for? For spreading Krishna's words, for offering people's facilities to come together and become inspired to remember Krishna. And that's all. That's what it is. And that all kinds of funny people come sometimes together to remember Krishna, well, that's another thing. Well, yeah, people come, we have an open door. This Prabhupada's system was that there's always a door open. And sometimes strange people come in the door. Yeah. There was even in Prabhupada days, he said, oh, Prabhupada, what shall we do with him? He came in the door. Prabhupada said, throw him out. There's limits to what kind of madness we can accommodate, certainly. And Prabhupada said, this is not for crazy people. No. This is for people to become sane. Don't make it to lunatic asylum, he called it. Place for madmen. He said all these things. This is ISKCON.
So, in today's world, there's a lot of misinformation in all bars around. Do you think Vaishnavi culture should adopt some of these tricks to disseminate the knowledge, the real knowledge, to like play by the rules of the today's?
Right.
They should.
We should focus on the essence and on the real knowledge, and that should be our alternative. We get things to hear. People will deviate all the time. Guarantee they will deviate. That's part of the fight we go through. You know, so we should be alert, but not suspicious or cynical. These things don't fit into Krishna consciousness at all. You know, that's another thing. How do you know? There's a group of people who will tell you there cannot be, there's a group of people, they cannot be real gurus in ISKCON. No, they're all false. How do you know? And you really want to prohibit Krishna to empower somebody? Who is you? Well, that you want to know. Who's talking here? And usually you find out some of these people are heavily compromised. So Prabhupada said, we are not so interested to even hear what is spoken. We want to know who is talking. And that's important. And then this way you avoid to be cheated. So this is, we hear many things, sure, but actually if you really look around, then you have enough to do in your own environment, your own field. And part of that is to protecting the field. Sure, you must protect the field from deviating invasion. It will come. Because there's an unfortunate feature the deviators have, they are aggressive. They are invading, they are pushing. So that we say, no, thank you very much, not here.
I wanted to ask from the position of a Vaishnavi, of us, how do we go about disseminating the knowledge? So that should we adapt the tricks of the modern society, the people...
What was exactly the point?
I don't know.
So
I just want to, I know approximately, but
Maybe.
I just want to get exactly the point.
So, do you hear me better now? For example, I were to disseminate the knowledge, right? And I will just drown in the sea of all other, freaks around. Should I also use freaky methods to disseminate the right knowledge, or should I stay away from all this craziness, all this cheating?
Well, it depends what methods you want to use.
I don't know, maybe buy some subscriptions on my YouTube channel, for example, to just have a bunch of...
Prabhupada, this was already going on in Prabhupada's presence. New methods how to preach. Prabhupada dismissed it all. Prabhupada said, we have our chanting, Harinam, we have our books, we have our prasadam. That's already 3 pillars of preaching. And then above all, the best preaching is by one's own example. So Prabhupada said purity is the force, not the fancy stuff. We don't need more decoration material, right? Otherwise, even we do decorate and we try to look interesting to people. Prabhupada said the ultimate thing is the purity, not the outlook. So sometimes we are very much focusing on the outlook, but where is the purity? And I am sometimes, sorry, but I have to say it, sometimes speaking about very basic moral rules, very basic moral rules. I could take the 10 commands, okay, from the Bible, 10 commands. We could live up to that more. Yeah, we could do that. So how? Because people will discover this. People are not stupid, especially nowadays. People will discover, he's talking, but why is he doing this? Why are they doing this? That's a practical question. Is this Krishna consciousness? I don't hesitate to say sometimes, no, it's not. But they are saying it's Krishna consciousness. They can say whatever they want. Anybody can say whatever he wants. There was one of Prabhupada's disciples who decided to start his own movement in Prabhupada's presence. He actually was coming from a background where he had already a movement before he joined. He was a quite prominent figure. He was like born leader. And ultimately, he came to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I have to have my own movement. Which was quite offensive, to he wants to compete with Prabhupada or what? And Prabhupada said, you have my blessing. But we will compare the result. Okay? My movement with your movement. Okay? Prabhupada was not envious. He was not even trying to enter some competition. He said, no, you can have your movement. We will see the result. And it's not that you judge a movement according to the size of its members. That can be very deceiving. You know what a big movement Mr. Stalin had? Mr. Hitler? You know how many disciples Mr. Hitler were? And they were ready to go and die for him. I don't see that many disciples doing this today, sorry. What a followership. And there were demons. So you don't judge because so many people follow in this direction. The history of mankind is a clear illustration how people massively can get cheated. This is one example after another. As a matter of fact, if you search for truth, a real truth, the numbers get smaller. Those even people, I can again quote Mr. Bernard Shaw from Ireland, he said, truth brings responsibility, therefore nobody wants to have it. They rather like to lie. It's cheap. Truth, we have to struggle for, therefore we have tapo divyam. First austerity, then comes knowledge. That's the very principle. Nobody wants austerity. They want knowledge, but no austerity. No, for knowledge you have to practice, and you have to perform some austerity. So, and Prabhupada served it to us so easily. What is our austerity? Eating prasadam? Even the 4 principles. You know what the 4 principles do to you? They make your life simple and blissful. Drink it. No, I don't need it. Have sex. Oh, that gets really complicated. Thank you very much. We're not afraid of that. Prabhupada was so humorous. One devotee got enthusiastic over sex. The first thing, of course, Prabhupada told him, don't worry, we will get you married. That was the first thing. I don't want to go in detail, but if you want to really get rid of your sex, marriage is a very good way to do that, because I don't know, every grihasta knows. They always laugh when I talk about this because they know. I always remember the joke is going, 2 men talking, how's your sex life? And he goes, are you crazy? I'm married. So this is like the result of this. It always ends up like that. So come on, what we are talking about? So Prabhupada said, we will get you married, and then he said to the other words, he's a healthy man. Healthy man, he feels that, has his sex life, yes. And Prabhupada was very pragmatic with this. Because sick man is not, he cannot have it. So Prabhupada was so far out, he was so up to date, he was so... So, what? I mean, what a trouble we get rid of just by following these 4 principles. I mean, this just makes life so easy. And are we losing something? No. We don't. We don't. Prabhupada said everybody wants to be loved and to love somebody. Everybody wants to get something and give something. So this is one of some basic principles of Vaishnava culture. This is completely coded in the scriptures. This is how devotees should actually live with each other. Giving gifts, accepting gifts, and showing truly loving attitude. That means to be there in times of need. Not in times when I like. I like you when I like. Well, that's usually what the love is in the material world. And if I don't like, well, then I don't love you anymore. That's it. No, the real love is I like you even when I don't like you. You cross that border. That's you can do only in spiritual life. Material life will force you to work upon your likes and not likes. In spiritual life, you can go over that. And you go, well, I mean, I met in Krishna consciousness in the last 54 years, many people which I would hate if I would met them without Krishna consciousness. I would be scared of them even. Really strange people. But they were nice. Why? Because we were all engaged in the service of Srila Prabhupada. We were all chanting Hare Krishna. They were nice people. That's all. This is the solution to all these likes and not likes problems. So we should not too much. Yeah. I come from a world without internet, and I can live in a world without internet anyway. You know, there was a time in Sweden where devotees traveling around preaching had on appointed time from a phone box call the temple authorities to give a report. That was it. I was one of the first people in Sweden to have a mobile phone, you know that? It was a foul thing. I had a Saab, very good Saab, by the way. It's very good on ice driving because I was going to Norrland. There was huge snow and piles of snow. So I was visiting Sankirtan devotees in Norrland, and devotees gave me this Saab with these heavy spikes. I mean, this was such a nails on the tires, the cars were standing on it. It sounded like a tank when you drive it, you know. Well, it was great. I could go over ice, frozen lakes, you know, like this, no problem. The car was just sitting, you know. And then they gave me a mobile phone, which was a box, black box, big like this. I had it lying in front, you know, on the desk. And it got a real phone to it with a cable like this. So I had to dial a simple number and get connected to the operator. I had an antenna going from that box, which magnet, which was sitting on the roof. And I was traveling through Sweden going, you know, operator, hello. And they go, hello. And I go, I want to be connected to this number, fixed number, you know, on the table. You know, Cobra phones. You don't know what Cobra phones is. That's really a funny phone. And then, you know, yeah. And then I got connected to a normal fixed line, and then I could make a phone call from the car. That was very advanced. And I remember all other car drivers were afraid of me. You know why? Because I had a blue Saab with a box here, which looked exactly like a police car with a radar, you know, equipment measuring the speed of the cars. So everybody, I came and I was driving very fast. On these nails, you can go 140 kilometers on ice, no problem. So I just going very fast, and all the people slow down because your police are coming, because they saw this box there. This was my first days in Sweden. That's how I came to Sweden, 86. So, you know, so that was like this. And then came the mobile phone you could carry with you, which was another box, a little bit smaller like this harmonium. It was like 3 kilos, you know. And again, it was a wire, it was with a real phone on it, and you could dial from that. Oh, that was really achievement. But it was heavy, it was like suitcase to carry this with you. Then I upgraded to Motorola, you know, hand phone, you know, which again, you had to punch in numbers like headphone. But it was again big like a brick. It was like this kind of brick you had, you know. And the battery lasted only for 10, 15 minutes, then you had to load it again. So this was the early days of technology. For today, it must be like talking from some another world, but this, I know that. Yeah, that's how I joined the tech, and Sweden was far ahead with the technology. No, it was the first place in ISKCON where the computer and internet was really used. We had one devotee here who was a winner of the software development prize in Europe. He was one of the top people. So he designed our ISKCON PAMHO provider that comes from those days. So we had our own internal computer communication, even the rest of Europe. Nobody in ISKCON knew anything about that. They go, what are they doing in Sweden? They write email. Wow. So I remember these days. But we were more communicative with each other. Yeah. And to talk to somebody, well, you have to meet him. And that is different as when you talk or send some, sync on a phone. So here we are using this technology, okay. But I tell you quite frankly, I may not see it in my lifetime, but it will be switched off, definitely. I look for it when people again meet in a park and go, hello, bro. I mean, you go in Malmö, Folkets Park and all this. This was full with people. You want to talk to somebody, you go to Folkets Park. Now it's just like a park. You go there and people walk around, That's all. Sweden was a very social place. All these communes, they had a small gathering places where people came together, And there were just children playing together, and everybody was like, this was Sweden when I came in. The country was like that. And then, now it's online. Everything is online. Okay. But I wouldn't mind if they switch it off. You could still make some communication. In the old days, there was a man coming on a horse and he gave you a letter. And to get a letter was a real something. Oh, the best thing is you went yourself and gave the letter to yourself somebody. People didn't go much anywhere. Why should you go anywhere? It's already the same. Why do people travel around and ISKCON this and ISKCON that and ISKCON that? Mind your own place. We have enough to do and struggle, in our own places. But we have to be aware, deviations are there, don't let them come in. We have to be protective for that. If you got something pure and clean, don't let anybody to mess it up with. You have to protect that. Prabhupada said even, there's another very heavy example he was giving, a milk touched by the lips of the serpent. It is heavy. It looks like milk, but there's a poison inside. So it looks like Krishna consciousness. You drink it, you will die. You have to be careful about that, yes. But I saw myself from my subjective experience, the poison distributors don't last for long. They always they don't last for long. I saw quite few coming around. Oh, a new dimension, a new paradigm shift. We have to change. And now we will get to people and they will all love us. Really. Well, the first thing who was not loved was this guy who talked that. And then you get what happened to him. He was supposed to unite all the people, but what happened to him? Well, he ended up in jail. That's one of the alternatives. I'm quoting now from reality. Or he died. Or he met a lady. That's a very powerful thing. I will save the world. Then she comes and goes, okay. But only from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. The rest, And I have some news for you. I'm pregnant. Ah. And suddenly the world goes its own way. And he has his problem on a table he has to struggle with. It's what happens. So sometimes when I see the revolutionaries and all these innovators coming in, I'm a little bit like, okay, all right. You know, it's just another one. Prabhupada said it himself about his movement. He said, so many came, so many left. I just stayed and I was listening. That's all. So we have just to stay and listen and read here Ishopanishad, and we have to read Prabhupada's books, chant our rounds, continue with Krishna consciousness, and whenever possible give it to others. That's a lot to do. There's a big program. Big. You should never think, oh, it's a big program. We have lots of things to do. And Krishna says, whoever programs his life like this, he will go back home, back to Godhead. I will take him. So that's nice. That's what we have. I will have the honor to meet now by the end of the year all these devotees who distribute books in a concentrated Sankirtan meeting in Germany. It's always by the end of the year. Very ecstatic atmosphere. If anybody wants to see a piece of ecstasy, you have to go to such a meeting. They are loaded from all the mercies they collected on the street by distributing these books. When that comes together, even a person who never distributed a book, they go, wow, never saw this one before. Devotees just seeing each other, they go, Jai, you know? It's a really spiritual experience. And it's not just nowadays just some celibacy monks traveling around or some brahmacharis. It's also others coming. I will meet devotees from Czech, from a Grihastha community. They come with the children. I can show you photos. The children also were on Sankit. They were also distributing books. You know? Yeah. And they are very good at this. They go book, and they go to a person like this, 5 years old guy, and just goes. But then he doesn't know what to do or what to say. Well, then the parent comes and goes, hello, and people go, oh, yeah, well, a child gave me a book, and you know, it's a really funny way to distribute books like that. And then this boy is a little bit special. He's very heavy. He's 5 years old. He's just a very heavy guy. So he just goes and when I go, well, it's very nice. I wish you good luck. No, I don't read the books. Then the boy goes, you must take it. You know, when a 5 years old kid yells at you like this, it's embarrassing, you know. And the parent goes, oh, sorry, he's doing it all the time. You know, it's a funny way to distribute a book. You can do all kinds of things. One devotee, he just sent me a picture. He said, the Torah of the local school teacher, actually, this is the Mataji who is running a Gurukula, a small school for children. He said, her oldest daughter, she's 15 or some 14 years old. She said, I also want to go out and distribute some books. He said, so the mother couldn't go, but I took her with me. So, you know, she said, no, she was very good, you know. She was doing, we were only 1 hour out. She did like 6 books, you know. She never did this before. And she was like, well, you know, yeah. And then, and girl, you know, and people go, what is this? And she goes, Hare Krishna. You don't know what is Hare Krishna? What is this? You know, just read this. And 15 years old girl like this, it's very difficult for people just, you know, they have no problems with that because they have the shelter of the parents and they are backed up by this. They are never alone. They never go out alone or something like that. So anyway, this is just an example if one wants to have some fun. And then after that, I will be 2 weeks traveling through Croatia again. without any car, I'm depending on the transport of the. This is quite some distances between the places. And you know what these places are? The size of these temples. They're like Mama. If you think this is some small place and this, no. This is standard ISKCON 2025. This is standard everywhere I go. It just happens that there are some really older devotees, not so many young ones. I sometimes miss some young ones. Hey, when I see a younger person coming, oh, that's really something. Otherwise, it's the old ones. They go, yes. You remember we met 20 years ago? Yeah. This is generally what I get. But this is always programs. 10 people coming, 5 people coming, like this. And it's completely okay. So, so there are many places actually like that. And devotees don't have much communication. They are happy when somebody comes. And I ask them sometimes, hey, the other place is just 150 kilometers away. Do you come sometimes together? And say, no, not so much. They don't like us. And you go, how do you know? I was just there. And they go, really? But they speak only nicely about you. How do you know they don't like you? Well, we feel they don't like us. I go, well, then why don't you just talk to them? You think it's possible? I said, just try. It happened to me. Next time I come, these two places, they sit together there, in a program. And I go, hey, this was good. Yeah? It's so stupid. Sometimes devotees just, I feel they don't like me. Yeah, but what you feel? Well, I feel like going to the toilet, damn it. What do I trust my feelings? What do I feel? I feel so many things. Now, I also don't associate with certain people, I have to admit that. But for very evident and practical reasons. I can explain it anytime. But just because I look at somebody and I don't feel so good. So what? I got good surprises, I tell you on the way. I met people who I think, oh no, he looks really strange and he looks like he really hates me. Then you talk to him, you discover, not at all like this. This is not at all like this. It's a completely different person. He's just made like that. It's just material nature just designed him like that. So what? The communication, talking has to be there. And Maya, there's nothing else as going, hey, and then separate and divide. Very bad for Krishna consciousness. So this is what I get on the road all the time. It's funny how I get into these roles, by telling them, no, they don't hate you. I was just there. It's really pathetic. And this is needed. I have the luxury, I can do this. This is really a luxury. This is not, I understand when I didn't have that luxury when I had a family, of course. I stuffed the whole family in a car and we did the same thing. For 8 years, my daughter grew up in a car, We just stuffed the whole thing into a car and just went like this. My wife got exhausted. I understand it now. At the point, I couldn't understand what's wrong with her. But she was like, practically 8 years on the road. I just like, with a child, Of course, we had a whole living room with us. It was a camper, but still it gets tight. Fortunately, I had a wife which can take a lot, but it has a limits. It has a limits. I couldn't understand that. Because I'm on, my nature is just to be on the road. But I couldn't understand that. So I had to submit myself to the fact that we have to get a little bit localized. But for the daughter, it was okay. She was like, wow, what kind of language are they talking today? She was like, oh, wow. Anyway, so yeah. I know this. Once again, I regret Locham Prabhu couldn't come because he could give far more philosophical and far more deep-rooted explanation of the 9th shloka of Ishopanishad. But I hope he can come again, but he is very overworked, and I know this. He's also getting older, I noticed. So, yeah. Okay. So, what is the next point on the program?
Artyom.
Arctic?
Thank you a lot, yeah, for the day you are coming, taking the time to come today. Thank you.
Oh, I like to come here. It's nice. It's especially because I know what happened in Sweden in the last 20 years, 30 years. I was at the origin of the Swedish Yatra and all this. When you see it in a context with that, one is happy for every place like this exists. Like I mentioned to you before, this is whole North Sweden. There's not one place like this. Where? There was a center in Uppsala, Umeå, Luleå. We never made it to Kiruna because it's really far out. But Luleå there was a congregational center. So so there was places like that. But in Sweden, it's very difficult to sustain things like that. The previous GBC said here we can understand what it means, the saying, out of sight, out of mind. Like you come out of that. He was really agitated over this sometimes. So one day he got so angry, he said, when I leave Sweden by car going to the airport, from this temple full with devotees, yes, Krishna's God, and this, there was a time in Krishna's was around 80 devotees. So, when I leave this, I just see the leaves falling down from the trees and everybody retreating to his room again. This is the nature of these Nordic places, this withdrawing mechanism. In other places like India, and the problem is quite on the opposite side. In Russia, it's like, isn't it? Russia is like already, you do something and people come together. I mean, Yeah, but this is even more so. It's so valuable. This attempt to, under any circumstances, it could be in any apartment, everywhere you do offer some possibility to connect. And you have to say it's nice because some people right now, maybe today, were not coming, but they're in the kitchen, cooking or watching, what they do there in the center. I feel a little bit like a recording studio here, This is a little bit like that. So why not? Why not? That also serves the purpose. Thanks to Dimitri, who is always doing all the technical backup here with the cables and with all this and microphones. So it's wonderful. You never know who is out there. You never know how it goes. It's not even up to us to speculate about this. We just give a Krishna a chance to be known. And we just give people a chance to come and get to know about him. And that's all. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hara Prabhu ki jai.